this is Lee, aka Revolution724, and it's New Year's Day, and I feel like doing a little bit of tarot reading just to give a kind of sense for the new upcoming year. I'm sitting at my altar. I have lit my candles, as you can see. I may be joined by a kitty friend. But let me just kind of riff on what my concept is of tarot readings. Okay, so this is Oliver Twist, and he is picking on my little foster kitten, Henri. So never mind them, they're doing their own cat thing. So tarot cards. I have been playing with tarot cards since about 2004. So it's been about 15 years that I've ever bought my first, Rider-Waite deck, and first ever started to, get curious about tarot cards and play with them. I feel like I may have played with them before, in early youth, but I am from the Bible Belt and I had a long and difficult time in, getting over the being freaked out about anything that wasn't, oh, Jesus, I wasn't truly over that now, but it was a journey. So, of course, I was really scared about the tarot, and I thought, ooh, it's got tentacles on it, and it's got the devil in it, and what is that crazy stuff? So, anyway, not to belabor the point, but I picked up my first tarot deck in about 2004, and since then I have felt like a perpetual beginner. So I know a little bit about tarot, I know the major arcana reasonably well. I'm still a little fuzzy on some of the minor arcana, but it is, and I have some thoughts about the imagery that is commonly used in tarot. Some of it is very, very heterosexual. Some of it is very Christian or Abrahamic in origin, and that's fine for as far as it goes, but I feel like it there could be alternatives presented, and I do have some thoughts about what might make for an interesting change in the way that tarot is constructed. Not a change in the way tarot is constructed altogether, but ideas for deck. Everybody is. I feel like a lot of people who have ever played with tarot has some idea for what a fun deck design idea would be. And I'm no different. I have some thoughts, but I'm not an artist, so maybe someday. That noise is Seamus scratching on his scratching post, because I'm over here talking to nobody and it's got their attention and they're curious. Anyway, but I've never felt like a master of tarot. I've never felt like I've been really shy about giving other people readings. I have never really had a regular tarot practice, and these are things that I want to change. I want to get more practiced and feel more like I know the deck core concepts so thoroughly that it's I don't have any problem then reading more intuitively, which is the ultimate aim, that I wouldn't need to use a reference, or I wouldn't need to just call on known definitions, but I would be able to look at the imagery in a spread or in a card and interpret it off the cuff. That's the idea. And New Year's is a logical time to be working with some divination tools as I'm looking out into 2019 and seeing what it brings. This deck that I'm using is the Tarot Mucha that is the back of it. This is based on the art of Tarot Mucha, who's a Czech artist who painted in the Art Nouveau style in Paris. I'm just going to go ahead and that's the idea here. I'm going to do a little 3-card reading for myself. I'm going to interpret it based on what I see, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm planning to do just a 3-card spread. That is a nice basic spread that is easy to apply to most situations. In this particular case, I tend to want to read like card number 1 as the past or background influences, card number 2 as the snapshot of the current situation or the prevailing energy of what's going on now, and card number 3 as what might be approaching or what to anticipate or what to look for as as time progresses. So here we go. Card number 1. And card number 1 is the 9 of Swords. I have, you're going to hear mixed things about whether or not to read reversals for the purposes of this video, and for right now, I'm not reading reversals. So anyway, card number 1 is the 9 of Swords. So, as a background card, the 9 of Swords, you see a woman just agonizing with swords hanging over her head. She has her hand over her face. She's just kind of has clothes kind of dripping off of her. In the classic Rider Waite, it's very clearly a person who's sitting up in bed and is having a dark night of the soul. And it's a card that is associated with anxiety, with insomnia, with fear of, with anticipation in a negative way. And I have a person who lives with anxiety. I think it's not surprising that in the recent past there has been a lot of anxiety in my life. I've been working on taking steps to improve things. But, you know, to me, to get a 9 of Swords, that really fraught card that speaks to waking up in the middle of the night, you know, gasping, you know, that's an experience I can relate to. So it is what it is. Card number 2, current situation. That is the Knight of Pentacles. Pentacles are also known as coins, or also called coins, to refer to the material realm. This knight looks very, he's dressed in kind of Middle Eastern garb. He's wearing a turban on his head. He's got the shoes with the points pointed up. He's standing on the ground. He's got grapevines, ripe grapevines over his head. So the Knight of Pentacles is thought of as reflecting the forward momentum of a knight, and presence of a champion with the earth energy of Pentacles. He's the master of his land. He's taking ownership of his, or watching out for his, perhaps even his father's lands. He's got his feet on the ground. He's actually not riding a horse, which is unusual. He's got mountains in the background. I see him as like taking steps to establish and protect what is existing in the material world and existing in terms of being rooted and connected to the earth and perhaps one's own property. As applied to my own life, certainly my house is old, and I have been in the process of customizing it and upgrading it and working on it to bring it into a better state. I do see that as relevant to the practical and energetic implications and energetic directions of the Knight of Pentacles. So if that's where I'm coming from, right, if that's what the situation is right now, I think that's fair. I'm not finished with getting my house in order, literally or figuratively, but it's something that I've been working on. And what's approaching? What's approaching is the Hierophant. Interesting. And I can see it. Now that I think about it, I understand why it's the Hierophant. So the Hierophant is about, he's kind of a symbol of religious authority. He's a symbol of structure. He's also a symbol of intellect and academics and that kind of rigor. It can be a bit of you see him seated in his throne with his bishop's mitre over his head, the keys of knowledge crossed in the background. He's holding a multi-crossed cross and holding his hand up in blessing. He's got poor looking people, and I say that because of their clothes, gathered at his feet making supplication, and he looks very superior. He's going, and he's got marble columns behind him, like the ivory tower. This is an approaching thing. So I have been getting a lot more into my spiritual life this past year and have goals of addressing it with more rigor as we come up into 2019. I have a lot of reading to do. I have a lot of research to do, or at least reading and research that I'm choosing to do so that I'm more knowledgeable about what I'm talking about and doing. I want to read more about different types of magic. I want to read more about folklore. I want to have a better understanding of Celtic deities. I want to have a better understanding of the details of Druidic practice. That is Seamus. I want to be more disciplined, and the Hierophant does have an element of discipline to him. I want to be more disciplined in engaging in regular meditation, in practicing the rituals that I need to be learning and practicing as part of my Druid aspirancy. The dangers of the Hierophant is to get too stuffy about it and get too get too into his judgmentalism of people who he considers to be lesser evolved than himself, to get too wrapped up in the hierarchy of things and the ranking of positions in perhaps an intellectual or organized religion kind of sense. So I will take that into account as I approach 2019. Yes, I definitely do have some studying that I have engaged in pursuing, but at the same time, I need to not get too fixated on it, and also not get superior about it, because ultimately spiritual development in my particular path is about connecting with nature. Even though there is a lot of book learning to do, the real heart of it is out there. and the other real heart of it isn't here. So I need to take my nose out, put my nose in the book sometimes, and also take it out and connect in an egalitarian sense with the rest of the world, and to see my place in the three realms and amongst my fellow travelers. So I hope this has been interesting. If you are watching this and you disagree with anything that I've interpreted, I would love to know your perspective. Won't necessarily change my mind, but I'm always interested in learning more. And this has been an interesting practice, and I'm going to make a note of this stuff in my journal now. So thank you for joining me, and I wish you all blessings and a very happy new year. Bye.